Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This week I wanted to talk about crochet and show you some of the stuff that I've made, some of the stuff that I'm working on, and the process of specifically getting to this sheep, because it was kind of funny. So I started out with this sheep. I wanted to make a round sheep kind of like this. But I wanted him to be fuzzy and I didn't want to have to put in too much detail. And I also, because this was the prototype, I wanted to try out a idea I had seen on like YouTube or something where you take like a brush. I had specifically seen like a dog brush being used, and I have one of those, so I tried that. And I thought, you know what, that had it fuzzy, but I don't know if it had it fuzzy enough for what I wanted. And I think the brush was kind of dirty, so it did kind of stain the white wool a bit. Not wool. It stained the white yarn. So I wasn't entirely happy with this. It was a good prototype. I'm not mad about it, but I thought maybe I'll try the bubble stitch or popcorn stitch or puff stitch. It has a couple of different names. So I started making this one. He started getting way too big, and the stitches themselves were taking way too long. I only got one round finished with this stitch. So I decided that, you know what, I don't think this is going to be a sheep. I'll come back to this later, maybe turn it into something else. So I needed to find a stitch that was going to work, because I didn't think that the fuzzing was going to work well enough for what I wanted. So I was looking, and then I come across a stitch called the berry stitch. So I saw it in a pattern for a sheep, so I wanted to do that. Either I didn't read the pattern right, or it did a very poor job of explaining it, because I started out with the head, and it didn't say when to change colors. So this is supposed to be the head for that pattern. This is about the size that I wanted the sheep to be. So when I started doing the stitch, because I was very excited to get to the stitch and didn't really notice that it didn't tell me to transition, even though the photo showed that it was a different color for the head. So I just decided to turn this into a sheep itself. Its face is very frightening. Very frightening. But I tried doing a French knot for the eyes, because I kind of wanted the eyes to be blue, because I thought that would be kind of cute. So I'm not entirely mad about the face, just because this was the first time I've ever done a French knot, let alone in yarn. So that was something fun. This was 3 French knots that I did, and this was just like a big French knot. So I'm not entirely mad about the face because of the French knot. But if it wasn't for that, I would not be happy at all with this. It was definitely an experiment. I'm glad I did it, but it's not a very good piece, unfortunately. So that out of the way, that is how I got to this sheep. I have another pattern that I was using for the base body shape of some cows I'm going to show you in a minute. So knowing that that the berry stitch was going to make it a bit bigger looking, they were going to stick out enough that I thought I should go for a bit smaller in diameter. So I downsized it by 3 stitches. So instead of doing like 24, I think I did 21, and I'll show you. See, in size, they look very similar. The only thing that's a bit different is I debated doing one less round, and I probably should have, but they look like they're basically the same size. And this has 3 less stitches at the biggest. So I think that was a good call, and I'm very happy about that. The only thing that I would do differently for this sheep is the face. Instead of making its face already as part of this, I would just leave this the same color as the wool coat that the sheep is going to have. I just leave it the same color and just not do the berry stitch, and then put over the face piece whatever color it's going to be and just stitch that on, because it's going to extend it some, and it's going to I think that's going to look better in general. So even though this is the color that the face is going to be anyway, I'm still going to cover it with another piece and kind of stuff that some. So that is going to, it's not going to be a big deal, but I think I'm not the biggest fan of changing colors, so like mid work, so that is going to work a lot better for me. Just a thought. So moving on to the cows, I wanted to talk about the cows. So I had a pattern for cows, and I think it's really cute. And I like this color a lot for the cow. But that gave me an idea for I have 3 cows that I've done. I've done this cow, and then I did a dairy cow. I sewed on the patches of the different colors, just because, again, I don't like changing colors mid-work, so I didn't do that. This cow, for some reason, gave me so many problems. I'm not sure if it was the idea of just putting on all the different color patches. I think he turned out pretty good, but oh my goodness. Putting on the patches, putting on his ears, and his eyes were such a pain. Oh my goodness. I literally put his eyes and his ears on like 3 different times. I am not even joking. It was so much. And his eyes went on 3 different times. They were different yarn, thickness, different weights, and it was so much. They, for some reason, were so hard to do. But I moved on and made the Scottish Highland cow. I love him so much. If I wasn't bringing these to market, I mean, I'm going to have to make a lot more anyway, but I love Scottish Highland cows. I am making so many more of these. I love him so much. So, this leads back to talking about the first sheep where I used the dog brush and made him kind of fuzzy. So, instead of using the dog brush, I have needle felted before, and I had some brushes for that specifically. So, I just made the cow body using the same color yarn, and once I had the body done, I didn't attach the feet or the face or any of the ears or anything or the tail yet. It was just a body, and then I just brushed him. I just kept brushing and brushing and brushing, and then I added the ears and brushed the ears, and then I added the tail and I brushed the tail, and then I gave him fringe. He doesn't have any eyes because he has fringe. He doesn't, that's not important. And I brushed all of that. I added his face after I added, not his face, I added his nose after I finished brushing the body, and I was worried it was going to look a bit weird, but I don't think it looks I think it looks fine. I'm not mad about that. And I also, so here's something. So this was the first cow that I did. I did not stuff his nose at all when I put it on. It's the same concept as this, just maybe a bit smaller. And for this one, I did not stuff it. But for the dairy cow, I did stuff it a little bit, and I liked how that looked, how it gives him a bit of a boop instead of this. If you can see that. I don't know if you can see that very well. Anyway, so I wanted to make sure that he had a really stuffed nose because they have a very distinct pink nose. So I wanted to make sure that he had that, and I think he turned out so good. I'm so happy about this cow. So that is the cows out of the way, and going a little bit further back, I made a pretzel dragon. I love him. It took me the longest time to find a pattern that I liked. I found a snake pattern that could be altered into a dragon pattern. I followed the pattern for the body, I added eyebrows to his eyes that wasn't in the pattern. I did the horns according to the pattern, and then the weird thing, I didn't exactly understand how the pattern said to do the spines, so I kind of just freehanded that, and a friend of mine suggested putting Velcro on so it would stay, so it would be like snaps or buttons, and it works so well. I'm so happy at how he turned out. So I had this idea, he was the start of that idea, to make dragons and food mashed. I thought it was a really fun idea, so I made the pretzel, and then I started a croissant dragon. I basically did the same thing, only he's a bit shorter. He is going to have legs and wings. He had an incident with a puppy. He's missing an eyebrow. His whole face was finished. He had both of his horns, he had both of his eyebrows, and now he doesn't. So he got put on the back burner because I was sad and needed a break. So I will finish him at some point, but not right now. And when I do finish him, I will definitely show you guys. Maybe I'll post something on Instagram if you are interested. I will link my Instagram down below so you can follow me there for more updates. But that is the sad, sad story of the croissant dragon. I have ideas to make more dragons though, so my goal is to finish him and then I can start on those. But right now I'm working on stuff for this market next Saturday. But before we get into finishing this poor sheep, I want to show you this. I, weirdly enough, have never made a granny square before this. I know that's like the first thing that you're supposed to make as a crocheter, but I had never made one. Don't ask me how that didn't happen, but it just didn't happen. So I thought, you know what? I should probably make a granny square, but I don't want to make just a granny square and have it sitting around. How about I make a sweater? I am not the biggest fan of like super warm sweaters, so I thought, you know what? I'll just make a super gappy granny square sweater. So I have these two pieces right here. This is going to be the front and the back. And I don't have the sleeves done yet. This is all going to be free-handed, so that's going to be fun. I have an idea, but I'm going to freehand this into a sweater, and I will definitely be sharing the finished result when I get around to that. Might happen in January. I'm not going to say anything for sure, but it would be nice if I could get this finished while it's still cold enough to wear a sweater. So that is the end of my show and tell. Now I need to finish this sheep, and yeah. Like the video if you like the video. Follow me on Instagram if you want behind the scenes and smaller updates, and maybe some pictures of finished Scottish Highland cows because everyone wants that. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you next time.